Okay, so for those of you who did not make it last week, so last week I spent some time sharing the vision of the university project. And just to reiterate, it is a non-degree awarding institution, at least for now. We are solely focused on skill development. We want to make sure that folks have the right skills and that their talents are being developed so that they can become productive citizens of Africa. That is our focus. And in trying to do that, we want to emphasize on not just the content of the material that folks are going to be learning, but we are also emphasizing on integrity, on values, on a set of African values such as Ubuntu, togetherness, understanding that whatever we are learning it to empower other Africans, to empower people in our society. That is one value system that we're going to espouse on the platform. We also want to espouse the value of responsibility, the commitment to do good, the commitment to hang in there in tough times. So those are the things that we want to make sure that we are teaching folks that come on this platform to learn. The content knowledge is important, but we want to add the value set. So I'm not going to spend so much time there because it is a revision for those who were here last week. Let me share my screen with you because I am really excited that we received so many positive feedback after last week's meeting. It was incredible. So I want to share a few things with you as far as some of the feedback that I got from different people. So one text that I received, and again, I'm not going to disclose the names of the people who shared their feedback with me because I didn't get permission from them that I was going to put their name out there. So I'm not disclosing their names. But one feedback that I got via WhatsApp was a young man sent me a text and said that he is a CEO of a company. He's also a founder of a nonprofit called Aspire African Youth Empowerment Initiative. And he says that I am a diploma holder in business administration, and he hopes to be the first student of Osiri University. So we are excited that even before we launch, that people are already catching on the vision, and they're excited to become students. They want to come and learn from this platform. Another person via phone call, as we were, in fact, I've talked to so many people over the past few days, and I've been, again, really excited and encouraged by what we are trying to do here. And in talking to one gentleman, he brought out so many things about his own personal philosophy. So this person that I talked to told me that for him, the way he lives his life is he doesn't judge people. He believes in everyone's talent, and he believes in Africa. And he went on to say that what you did before in your past is irrelevant. What you did in your past is irrelevant. What you are doing now is what matters. Okay? And as I'm talking to you, I'm trying to make sure that I'm admitting everyone who is signing on so that nobody is sitting on the waiting room without being admitted. So pardon me as I flip through my screen here back and forth. So he went on to say that if you touch a life, you build a nation. And that is precisely what we are trying to do. We want to focus on touching individual lives. We want to focus on teaching folks and empowering them. And we believe and we hope that as we touched their lives as individuals, that we are, through our collective effort, building a nation. Let me share one more feedback. Again, these are just sample quotes from the different platforms. I gave you a sample quote from WhatsApp, a sample quote from my discussion with a gentleman over the phone. And here's one that I got via email. Okay, very encouraging. And this email feedback says, "Thank you so much for running with the vision, making it a reality, and then reaching out to me. I am very interested in the first salient point you made about teaching a course, and I will be most grateful to be assisted by the team." This is someone who clearly has the toolkit to be able to teach a course, and she's asking for help to be able to design a course and teach that course as well. So we are very excited about the positive messages that we have received so far, just in a span of a few days. And on the last note, I want to shift gears quickly and talk about teaching, which is what we are going to start doing. That is one of the mission of the university. Let's talk about teaching. If I may ask you, what is teaching? And again, you might say, this is what sort of stupid question is this? What is teaching? And if you don't mind, chime in. I want to welcome folks from all over the world who have tuned in here. If you want to say something, go ahead and unmute yourself and say a thing or two. Be brief about teaching. What do you understand by teaching, if you may? Very important. Any ideas, please? Again, everyone is mute. If you want to say something, go ahead and unmute yourself and chime in.
Good day.
Yes, go for it.
Sir. My name is Oludotin Taiwo.
Yes.
Okay. I believe teaching is a communication of a learning experience into another person in order to form a change or form a change in the person. You know, most time what I'm trying to say is just to communicate. It's a communication process whereby there's a learning, there's a transfer of knowledge into another person. That's basically what I feel teaching is all about.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Taiwo. Anybody else?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was going to.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Go ahead and say your name and jump right in.
Okay, my name is Prosper. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead, please, Prosper.
Yeah, just like you said, I believe that teaching is actually transference of your knowledge to another person to improve the person's life. If the knowledge is not improving somebody's life, then the person is not actually learning. The purpose of teaching is to improve somebody else's life to become better than what you are.
Powerful. Any other person, please? Thank you, Mr. Prosper. Thank you very much.
Peace, my brothers and peace, my brothers. If there are any sisters on here as well, peace. My name is Amin Patah. I'm from Rochester, New York. And what's teaching to me? Teaching is two things. It holds two very important roles. One is institution, and the other is transference of information. In order for us to propel societies, we have to be able to transfer these modalities through teaching, whether it be through these various institutions. So teaching itself is one institution, but it allows other institutions to grow through the method of teaching.
That's powerful. Let's take one more. Thank you so much, Brother Patar from New York. Any other ideas about teaching? Wonderful. Okay, so let's, yes, Mr. Chika, go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
Okay. For me, just like the other speakers said, teaching is a way of transferring knowledge from one person, the teacher, to another person to create a change both in the person that have learned and also in the person that is transferring the knowledge, so that at the end of the day, both parties will have positive development or positive impact from whatever that was taught by the teacher. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing. I mean, I love the way everyone brought in different angles. That one person said teaching is an institution that supports other institutions. That is very powerful. That is extremely, in fact, we're going to touch on that in a few minutes. Because indeed, teaching or education does support our political institution, legal institution, business environment, and so on and so forth. So that is very important. Now, it turns out that teaching, in my humble opinion, is the most important human activity. Okay. Teaching is the most important human activity. Oh my goodness. That's a big claim. It's a big fat claim to make. And yes, it is. But it turns out to be true. If you look at other animal species, I mean, they can do other things. Most things that humans can do, they can do it. Sometimes they do even better. Okay. But sometimes those activities may not be as advanced as ours. For example, animals have a way of communicating. Humans communicate, of course, our form of communication is more advanced. We have language, but some animals also have language. Animals love, they do love. Animals build societies, they have their own system of government, right? They do all that stuff. Animals learn, they learn, right? They learn by observing. But animals don't, if you look carefully, animals don't go through great lengths to teach. They don't build institutions just dedicated to teaching. This is what really makes us human. Teaching is what makes us human. We cannot joke with teaching. I'm sorry to say. Okay, it is the most important human activity. Right? And so if we fail as a society to teach our young, to teach adults, then we would have failed as a society. It is just that simple. Okay, and if you recall in my email to you, I begged you to think about a question. There was a question that I posed in the email and asked you, why is it that in today's 21st century, Africans or African people all over the world travel to go gain knowledge from other people? And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I came to the US to learn. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But where the problem is people are not coming to us to learn as well, like they used to. That is my only issue. So why is that? Why is it that people are not lining up, getting visas to want to come to Ghana, to want to come to Nigeria or Kenya to learn, to seek a, wow, I want to understand what these people know. Why are their lives so great? That was the question I asked. And so let's delve into that a little bit, because it's important that we think about these things so that we are not just, delving into trying to teach something and doing it the traditional way of imparting knowledge. No, we're not just trying to do that, okay? It turns out that, there was a time when the world used to come to Africa to learn. If you look into any history books today, history books often will start with the Greeks. From the Greeks, they jump into the Roman Empire. But the Greeks themselves told us where they learned from. The Greeks traveled all the way to Kemet, to ancient Egypt, to learn from Africans. This is what the Greeks themselves said. This is what their philosophers have written down. And there is proof of all of this history. So we have that. We also know about the Malian Empire, okay, especially during the time of Mansa Musa, the wealthiest man that ever lived in the world, the wealthiest man. If you were to estimate his worth in today's currency, it will be well over $400 billion. But the unique thing about the Malian Empire in the time of Mansa Musa was that he made investments in education. He did not joke with education. And the people of the Malian Empire, which of course spanned from all the way from Mali through Ghana to present-day Ghana, were educated people. And people traveled to go learn from Mali. Okay? This is history. And if I may ask you, does anyone know the first university built in the world? What is the first university? Where is the end? Does anyone know? Unmute yourself and tell me. If you know the first university, can you please share with the group?
I think it was in Egypt.
Sierra Leone.
Somebody says in Sierra Leone. Anybody else?
I think it was in Egypt.
Somebody say Egypt. Okay. Anybody else?
Was it Timbuktu?
Timbuktu. Okay. So I heard Sierra Leone, Egypt. Okay. So all of you are on the right track in the sense that you've mentioned some early civilizations, right? That in Africa that spawned educational institutions. But the correct answer is Timbuktu, is in Mali. Okay, it was built by Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa, this king that I'm telling you about, he built the very first university in the world, the University of Timbuktu. Okay, that university still stands today, even though it's not, functioning as we would think of a traditional university. You see, so the world used to come and learn from us, and the reason is because the education that we espoused, that we had developed, was unique. It was African, and it was improving our lives, which was again a comment somebody made earlier. I believe it was Mazi Prosper. Education ought to impact lives. So people was like, I want to go and get a piece of that. So that is why I think we as Africans, we have to revisit our mode of teaching. We have to revisit our educational system, because what we have today is not really us. Let's be frank. Some of us, all of you here on this platform, you are all fortunate. You are all lucky. You are the cream of the crop. You happened to have become educated despite being forced to be schooled. You've managed to become educated. You've managed to emancipate yourself. You've managed to develop your mind despite allow me to say, junky education that we have that is not really ours. What we have today is an education that doesn't support our culture. It doesn't teach us our culture. It doesn't teach us to believe ourselves. What sort of education is that? I mean, I've been to Japan. If you go to Japan, I mean, you can tell from birth, they are taught to be very patriotic citizens. They are taught to love what is Japanese. And they travel to go learn from other people, but they come back and make it their own. The same thing, if you look at any culture that is doing well today, they have managed to use whatever they learn from other people and incorporate it into their own, into what they have already developed. So let me not overflog the issue here. You get the point. So let's move on. Let's move on. So the whole point here is we are trying to empower folks, but we cannot do that if we don't have passionate people like yourselves passionate people out there who we are going to recruit to come on board and help us develop courses. And when we can do that and start teaching those courses in using the philosophy that I have described, then I think we'll begin to advance Africa. So let me stop there, because this is going to be a 1-hour meeting, as I stated in the email, and there's going to be a hard stop. At exactly 1 hour, I will stop. So I have used up about 20 minutes, and I want to now open it up to folks out there and to add. If you want to share something, go ahead and share something.
Prof, I really appreciate you for this concept and idea. I think one of the biggest challenge we have here in Africa is that we don't have what we call creative teaching. You go to school in Africa, like Nigeria, for example, you only go to school to obtain a certificate. At the end of the day, you don't use your certificate. Someone who read geology, you end up seeing the person in the banking system doing what? He has nothing with what he has read. And another thing we don't do in our universities and in our high institution here, in our high schools here, is that they don't teach you how to maximize your gifting, your talent, how to become employees, and not employers. And we don't teach them on how they can develop their own business and expand what they have learned. You can see a professor in Nigerian university telling you that the material he's using to lecture you is what he used to lecture people in 1975. And you're using it for 2018, 2019. So the knowledge we are getting is already a stale knowledge, so it cannot be reproduced. So that's one of the sick things we're facing in the education.
Thank you for sharing that, Mazi Prosper. Thank you for sharing that. In fact, so last week we talked about how this university platform is a skill-based talent development university. So we are focusing on addressing the issues you just highlighted. Okay, skill-based and talent development. And we are doing two things to make sure people are employable. One, we're going to teach folks entrepreneurship so they can couple whatever skills that they are learning to some business, to that business acumen to be able to start something for themselves. We are also developing relationships with various companies, small, medium, and big, and we're trying to partner these companies so that they can eventually also recruit our students. Okay, these companies will provide case studies that we are going to incorporate in the classroom. They will provide internships, and hopefully they can also provide jobs. So thank you for those comments. Anybody else, please?
Well, I want to actually comment on something in regards to the question that you posed in the email on why folks are not coming to Africa to learn from Africa. And I think it's very important for us to point out that white supremacy did a number on us as Black folks globally. And that's one of the primary reasons why folks are not going to Africa in various capacities, because of the stigma and the stereotypes that's been developed through white supremacy. You got folks in Africa looking at Black folks in America in a very negative manner because of the information that they're fed before they even come to the side of the world, and vice versa. You know, that you got to look at the propaganda that we were taught about Africa here. Many images that we saw here in America was kids with flies on their face and, you know, all kind of negative stuff you've seen in the media. You know, you pay 75 cents a day to take care of this child type of stuff that you will receive of information about Africa. And you never really seen the development or the advancements that Africa really have and possess. And another thing too, we have to look at the fact of colonialism and how they come in with their missionaries in Africa and try to eradicate any cultural component that was in Africa from its antiquity. You know what I'm saying? So we have to really be very mindful of that and figure out ways of how can we reverse this curse that white supremacy cast it on us.
Wonderful. Thank you for that contribution. That's an amazing contribution. Indeed, we have to break that cycle. We have to focus on ourselves, and by doing that, by focusing on ourselves, by teaching our culture, our history, we will be leaving behind the shackles of colonialism. Absolutely, that's a fantastic contribution. Yes, go ahead, Dr. Ikechi.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to um, chip in by saying that we should strike a balance, or rather, you should strike the balance between teaching, lecturing, and instructing, because we need to really, sometimes we are, some facilitators, those that facilitate a class, can be called um, instructors, or they can also be called lecturers, or like we've been using that word teachers or teaching. So you should throw more light about it.
Good point. Okay, let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and address that by sharing um, this slide. So we want people who are passionate about teaching and who have the background. What do I mean by background? Let's say if they have a PhD, if they have a master's degree, yes, we want them to come on board and teach. But if they don't have advanced degrees, we also want them to be involved, because I have seen that from my experience, that even some folks who may not have advanced degrees can be teachers. I'll give you an example. You all know Oprah Winfrey, right? Oprah Winfrey doesn't have a PhD or a master's degree in journalism or communication, but she's probably the best, right? She's probably the best journalist out there, or one of the best communicators in the world, right? Right. So that's an example of a person who may not have acquired an advanced degree, but through their wealth of experience, they can teach, they can offer something to the world. So we're going to be carefully looking at people with various backgrounds, but of course, I think having a master's degree or a PhD is a signal. It tells us that, okay, you are in this field, that you actually want to teach. But we want to go look past that and look at people who also may have backgrounds, extensive experience, and they have something they are going to offer. So let me go ahead and share my screen again. I want to share this with you. Let me know if you can you see this, the syllabus? Okay, good. Now, if you look at the syllabus, what it shows you here is basically what is page one. What page one of any syllabus on our platform will look like. Okay, so you have a course description, tells you, okay, this is what you are going to learn from this course. Okay. Again, I'm going, as I go through this, I'm focusing on teachers. Who are the teachers? Teachers are the ones who are going to create this syllabus. And we're going to give them the support that they need and the training. We're going to be communicating with them. Okay, so if you already have experience teaching, we want to talk with you. Let's combine our ideas and even create knockout courses, a very highly effective courses. Okay, so secondly, the courses are going to be about 4 to 8 weeks in length. We want to keep them short and sweet, very intensive, very focused. They come in to learn, and they know they're taking this course for a duration of 4 to 8 weeks. That way they can zero in, learn the content, and move on. Okay. The teachers are also going to make sure that the content of the courses are well developed. So if you look at what I have here, I have arranged, you see that these courses, this particular course has been broken down into 4 modules. So module 1, you have ideas and opportunities. You have module 2, building a business, module 3, and so on and so forth. So we'll break it down into modules. Every module essentially is like a week, okay? Now, another unique thing about our courses is we're going to be using case studies. And we want every case study to be African-centered. So these are Africans right? So if you see this person is Isaac Asamani. It's an example. So we're going to reach out to Isaac and work with him to develop a case that addresses how he started, that addresses how he was able to identify an idea, turn it into an opportunity to create this business called Stalwart Assets Limited in Ghana, right? So that as our participants are going through the course, they are seeing themselves. They are seeing other Africans doing amazing work. In module 2, you have Bimbo Balogun. Okay, she's an entrepreneur who is doing so well in Lagos. Just started selling beads, right? Making small beads and bags, making bags, right? But now she sells pearls and jewels. So these are the kind of things we want to do throughout this course. Okay, so I'm gonna be helping, and our team is gonna be helping our teachers to develop courses that are very robust, like this. So let's delve into week 1. So this is what like week 1 might look like. Okay, we want the whole course, even though they are learning business, they are constantly thinking about Africa. They're seeing themselves. They're looking at their problems, and they're also coming up with the solutions to their own problems. So it would be nice to open up every module, every week, with a proverb, an African proverb that relates to the topic. So here's a proverb that says, if you kill time, you bury opportunities. That's an African proverb. So then the students will see that proverb, and then there'll be a reflection, even before you delve into the course, into that week. Here's a reflection. The students will take some time and they think about a time that they missed a rare opportunity. Again, this is them reflecting on the topic that they are about to delve into. So they are personalizing it now. Okay, what happened when they missed that opportunity? You see, what were the prevailing circumstances in their life? Okay, why did they miss the opportunity? Okay, what do you wish you had done differently? So they will do this reflection and they're actually writing it down. Okay, they are writing down their reflection. Okay, and what it does is as people reflect, it actually makes you, it helps develop your critical thinking skills. It also makes you feel calmer. You are much calmer as a person. In fact, research shows that people who take their time before they make a decision, people who are slower, people who are more reflective in decision making, end up making quality decisions. So we're actually teaching them, we're giving them leadership skills just by this simple task of reflecting on a topic. And then we'll ask a provocative question. Okay, here's a provocative question, out there question. If you had all the rights to the gold mines in Ghana, how would you live the rest of your life? Okay, a question like this will force students to look inward and to bring out some of their value sets. And maybe they have never thought about their values their entire life. But by asking them a question like this, what they would do the rest of their life if they had all the riches in the world, it helps them get in touch with who they truly are. You see, now you see how we are teaching entrepreneurship, but we are connecting value set to entrepreneurship, and in the process, we are reminding students through and through to always think about themselves and Africa and their contributions to Africa. So that's just an example of what a week might look like, and then they delve into the reading material. So they have all the reading materials available to them, right? So there will be the case study that I mentioned earlier. That will be the number one thing that they will read. Then there will be definitions and so on and so forth. There will be papers, there will be text, and then there's an assignment. Here at the end, I have a video. I can also do a video of that topic, right? I could do a video, but we're gonna try to avoid a lot of multimedia and videos if we can. If we make videos, we're going to put them on YouTube and share the link. But for the most part, we want to provide a text to the students and make sure that they can easily download the text or just click to read the text that's available. Then this module is going to end with a big assignment, right? And then at the end of the week, they will submit their assignment and also their reflection to these questions up here. So that is the job of the teacher, to answer that question. You see? So that is the job of the teacher, to create a content like this that is powerful, but is simple, but powerful, in my opinion. Now, we can also have, facilitators. I had a discussion with a gentleman who wants to put us in touch with the National Youth Service Corps in Nigeria. And I believe there are other entities like that throughout Africa where, people finish their bachelor's degree and they take 1 year to serve, right? They spend 1 year serving their country. And most times these students or these graduates are sent to other parts of the country to go and serve. So the idea that I got from a fine gentleman was that, we can recruit a lot of these people because they're already out there in remote parts of the country serving, teaching. They can become teaching assistants. They can become facilitators. They can support that effort. Okay, so, but we're going to make that distinction clearly. Those who are going to be developing the courses are the teachers. They're going to own the content. We're going to help them make sure that the content is very Afrocentric, very powerful, meaningful, and that they're making a difference. We're going to help them make a difference on the ground. But then we also want to be able to provide support, if we're able to land this partnership with the National Youth Service Corps or things of that sort. Let me move on. I have a question here from Isaac. Mr. Isaac, please go ahead and ask a question. Your hand's been raised for a while. Ask away, please.
Yes, it's not a question, but I just wanted to contribute to the discussion that in Africa, we need to inculcate into our students a sense of patriotism, because they are used to greed and what you call pull him down attitude, PhD, pull him down attitude. That you don't help somebody to succeed. You rather have to put the person there down and then you get over. So we need to inculcate the lessons of, living together, helping each other, coming together with our resources and building something big. That is really lacking. And then corruption is really killing us now in Africa. And the young ones want money quick. The young ones who are coming 20, 17, 18 years, 19, they want to get a car, they want to get a house, they want to get married, they have big weddings. No. And I said, no, it doesn't happen that way. So we need to teach them that they need to take their time and build a career and build a business and build an empire. That doesn't come over time. So gambling is really killing us now in Africa. Everywhere the Chinese have brought gambling. We need to talk to them. That it's not about the gambling. The gambling can make them to succeed. We need to switch. And there's this idea of network marketing. Most of them are not working. They're not doing network marketing, selling other people's products, and they're really not making. At the end of the day, 3-4 years, and they are nowhere. They come to square one. But we need to teach them that that's not the way out. They have to come and build their own empires, build their own business, get their idea, look for opportunity, capitalize on it, and then move up to the top. And it is gradual. You need to mentorship and coaching. Most of them don't want to be coached. They want to be mentored. Oh, why? No, they always want the shortcuts. No, but there's a shortcut. I said, no. You have to take your time. The person have to go through certain experience to get you out there. I think that once we teach them and we add all those things in the instructions or in the facilitation, it will build them up. And I also want to say thank you for the courses on the entrepreneurship. It's very, 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 very good. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. You've spoken like a very passionate teacher. I know of your work, Mr. Isaac. So I'm very excited that you've joined us and you're going to bring your skill set I'm looking forward to learning from you, and hopefully we can all combine our ideas and create something really amazing. And again, just to sort of respond, just to add again, in a way, sort of reiterate what I said earlier. You know, you identify some issues in Africa. We talked about corruption, you know, get rich quick as you know, attitude. Again, if we are careful in embedding certain exercises, simple exercises, in throughout our courses and those modules, like the simple exercise on reflecting, just simply asking students to think about what they would do with $10 billion, with $1 billion, how that would change their lives, what kind of life they will live. They will pause. I mean, it will help them get in touch with themselves. Research is clear on that. So the more people reflect, the more people can pause, the better human beings they actually will become. So the more we do that, the better. And also, the more we introduce case studies of people who've done it, right? In our classrooms, the more they have good examples to look at. You know, I like to share this. There's a man by the name of Tony Elumelu from Nigeria who has this amazing foundation. You know, he's a billionaire, but he's using his money to help Africans, right? I think he has dedicated $100 million to empower 10,000 entrepreneurs throughout Africa. We need to be sharing those stories. If I'm teaching entrepreneurship, I want to highlight his approach as a case study to my students. Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Thank you for inviting me here, Prof. This is an amazing gathering of people. So I just want to, I really appreciate the fact that you're bringing this up. And my thoughts to this is speaking to the grassroots. That is like the core of the problems. And also going to the young generation, the young people, because they become, in the next 5-10 years, they are the ones who will become politicians. They are the ones who will become leaders in our society. So making them understand these basics is something that, because a trend that is kind of scary to me now in Nigeria is this growing trend of young people who are wasting their lives in terms of engaging in hard drugs, in this popular Malian thing that is going on everywhere. Everybody wants to become a Malian now. Everyone wants to become a Yahoo boy or Yahoo girl or something like that. And I think that we cannot overflog the issue that the society has failed them. The structure in place has failed to tell them that that is not the way. And sometimes when we are doing this kind of personal efforts to try to say, to try to make them understand that there is a better way, it looks as if you are trying to show them something that is not right. So that's why I really appreciate that a platform like this will be established to kind of inculcate that kind of hardcore teaching, like telling them the future that lies, that this is the generation that will stand up and change all that. So the more people, the more young people that can be brought into this kind of system will be better. I would like to know if there is a kind of, how do you design the module to address that kind of, the situation up to that level where we can have more young people engaged in? I like the idea of entrepreneurship. I also understand, I mean, I don't know how many modules you have, but communication is key. From my standpoint, communication is powerful. The ability to be able to let people know. So I just, because this is my first time coming here, I have, maybe a lot of things have been said that I don't know, but I would like to know, because that really bothers me.
Sure. So we're going to be helping every teacher develop their course. And we have courses in entrepreneurship, in history, in culture, in engineering, chemistry, and we have courses all over, right? So obviously we want to make sure that every course has the right content. You have to, so if you're teaching chemistry, you have to teach the periodic table, you have to teach chemical equations and reactions, you have to teach all those basic content, right? So courses will have the basic content, but we also know a way of infusing culture, infusing self-awareness into every course. So that's what we're going to be doing. So if you're learning engineering, for example, the assignment could be go out to your street and identify an engineering problem and use the concept that you've learned to solve that problem. That could become your final project, right? So these kinds of approach will help our students to not only to be self-aware, but also help them to always focus on giving back to their community. So yes, so we are going to be addressing that. And I have another hand raised. Dr. Mallet, please, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. And one thing that I wanted to add was regarding forming networks. I feel like we have a pool of professionals from different backgrounds, and when the students use this platform, if there could be a way by which they could form networks with other students, I mean, like to progress in whatever their careers would be. And the other question that I had was regarding like disability inclusion, whether there are going to be audio versions as well for students with visual impairment and so on, whether we're being inclusive. And my third comment would be like when we're like giving these stories to inspire the students, are we being inclusive of everyone? Like I feel like from my experience, for instance, there aren't so many stories of women, successful women. So I just wanted to tap into that.
Absolutely, very great question. So first question is about how are we including people based on background? So not everyone may have access to internet to be able to watch a video or an audio. So the answer is we're going to encourage our teachers to make sure that any audio or video is small, you know, so it takes up very little storage, or we can store them on YouTube so people can just click and then go to YouTube to watch those links or to listen to the audio. So we're going to be careful about that. We want to test out all those technological things to make sure they work before we put them out there for students, because we do understand that not everyone will have strong internet connectivity. So the more we avoid large files, you know, the big files that you're trying to download that will crash your computer or, you know, or crash your internet, the more we avoid those things, the more accessible we're going to make the course materials. That's number one. Number two, absolutely, when it comes to inclusivity in terms of gender, in terms of religion, in terms of background, in terms of ethnic background, we are going to have to not shy away from it. In fact, the example I just showed you earlier about the module I'm creating for entrepreneurship, the first person there, the first case study is a male from Ghana. The second and the third are female. One female from who lives in Lagos, Bimbo, and then the other person, Happiness, is also female. Absolutely, it's important as we do these things, as we create our courses, that we bring in case studies that represent our diversity in terms of gender, in terms of ethnic diversity. It would be great that we have examples. You know, if you are Nigerian, you should be learning about the Zulu, you know, people. You should be learning about folks from Kenya. You should be appreciating that culture. Any other input or question? I have Chukwudi Emeribe, please. Dr. Chukwudi, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much for this important gathering. You can hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah. I want to speak to the question that you raised in the email you sent to some of us, asking why is it that we go there to learn and they don't come here to learn. There are three things that we have to understand. The first is, yeah, we teach. I'm a researcher in the university. Yeah, we teach. But the questions, the first question is this: what is the content of what we teach?
Mm.
That is where the first question comes in. And if you look at it, kind of things we teach in the university, you'll find that there is no connection between the academia and the industry. Are you hearing me?
Loud and clear, yes.
There is no connection between the academia and the industry. It's like we are doing our own, they are doing their own. And because of this disconnect between the academia and the industry, you find that a lot of our graduates, when they graduate from the universities, they are not employable. In fact, I remember after my graduation, I was just crying because I didn't know where to move on from there. There was a disconnection between what I have read and where I'm supposed to be going to. And that is one. And one of the things we must be very careful with this group we've just started forming is we must guide ourselves against going the way of the conventional university. So we don't end up doing what our conventional universities are known for. We must bridge the gap between the academia and the industry. In other words, we teach the students, we create a problem that is Africa. We solve this problem at that level. We shouldn't be seeing them any longer as students. We work together to solve a problem, within which they now begin to learn how to solve certain problems. And again, it's time, I think this program must push it very close to the industries, to companies, to come and give us tasks to do. The students should be part of the task, not just teaching them or leave them to solve problems. We should be part of this problem. And the second question I want to ask, the people, the teachers, the people, instructors or the facilitators, what is the arrangement? Because you see, I'm a researcher. We develop problems as researchers. We form small research group we call cells. Within that groups, we have students. So if these researchers, we shouldn't see ourselves as just sitting one side and teaching or instruction to students. We researchers should also have the ability to develop problems. And in solving these problems, we'll bring in these students who will now solve these problems with us. I think that way will give them a sense of belonging. Let us downplay a little bit on teacher-student relationship and focus on, working together with these students, creating problems to be solved by we and these students, and not just leaving them to go out to the streets, look for a problem and come solving. We must also research on our own, come up with problems, solve with these students. And the last thing I want to say is in form of question. Is there a platform where researchers, or rather the facilitators and the teachers, is there a way that they come from time to time, identify problems? Because these things begins with us. If we get it right, then how to help these students come out of these problems won't be a problem. So this is my humble submission, please.
That is wonderful. I don't even have anything to add to everything you have said, ranging from getting tasks from companies, thereby serving as a bridge between producers of knowledge and the real world. I don't have anything to add there. That is well in line with what we're trying to achieve here. And also the idea of creating a community of learners. In fact, that was how people used to learn back in the day. We learned together. If you look at people like Socrates and the rest, that was how all their students learned from them. Their students are learning from them, but they are also learning from their students. So is this idea of co-creation of new knowledge that is happening. And this is precisely what you are saying. We should not emphasize so much a dichotomy between teachers and students, but that we should look at it as, we are coming together to learn from each other. We are co-creating knowledge. Obviously, there is a gap, right? So as teachers, you have something to offer to begin with. But as you offer that knowledge, you should quickly be calling upon the students to also chime in. You are calling them to contribute, to help you, to work with you, to co-create solutions. So absolutely, that is the spirit that we want to embrace here. In fact, I'm going to be sharing a link with you. And as we are building the platform, I've been careful not to, maybe in a few occasions, I call the students. I call them leaders. So you are right. I call them leaders because we have to address them as such. And actually some of them are already, they're already doing something for themselves. Like one of the students that reached out to me, said, that, he owns a company. So we have a potential student who's waiting for us now to, to put all the courses online so he can start learning, already has a business. So you are absolutely right. So they are leaders. So we need to, invite them to be solving problems so that we all are learning together. And yes, we are going to create a platform where teachers will meet periodically to rub minds together, to come up with solutions, to ask powerful questions, and think about ways to address those questions. Absolutely, you are in the spirit. So let me call on just one more person there, and then we'll wrap up here because I want to respect your time. Let me call on Ms. Felicia Stanley from New York. Go ahead and take the floor.
Let me unmute. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of maybe I guess piggyback a little bit off of what was previously said by two other people, but and to address the question a little bit that you asked in the email. And I think that is over time we have lost a sense of value that Africa has, and that's why we don't necessarily want to go back to Africa to learn. We think of Africa's knowledge and value as something from the past, something that was long, long ago, ancient knowledge, ancient. We don't think of it as collectively as something that we can still learn from today and that still holds all that same knowledge and wisdom and that we still need to tap into. And I also think that it's important, especially in today's society, especially here in America, like your learning, your education, you're hard pressed to have it acknowledged unless it's credentialed and degreed. So I think it's important to push and to spread the word that we are working together to create creators, to create entrepreneurs, to create people to not to go work for somebody's engineering firm, but to be an engineer and to start their own firm. So I think because that question might be raised like, well, what can I do with this if I have to have this? If society says I have to have this to be able to obtain that. But I think it's important to emphasize that we are creating creators.